Hello and welcome everyone to our very first event, and it's called the Growth Mindset Collective. So, would like to welcome Niki Hall here and our guest, and I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. So, welcome, Niki.
Hi, Iwa. How are ya?
I am fantastic, and how are you?
This discussion today.
Sorry, you cut out. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I'm great. I'm looking forward to this discussion
Ah,
today.
yes, of course, me too.
Get
So,
connected.
exactly. So, we'll do a little introduction of who we are. So Nikki, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do, and then I'll go after that.
Okay, I'm Niki Hall. I am a success and mindset coach. Have a small business. I only take a select amount of students per year. I'm also a producer now of compilation books, and I have a few other sources of multiple income that we're not going to talk about today. But those are the two things that I do in a primary manner. And looking forward to sharing this chance to share some wisdom and get into a collective thought with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I am Eva. I am from Edmonton, Canada. I have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, and I'm also a mindset coach. And but I also call myself inspirational author and insightful traveler. So I've stepped into this role because I am here, just like Nikki, to help others advance forward in life, in their journey. So today, we are gonna be talking about what, Nikki? Tell us.
We are talking about getting connected, as into our divine and our higher power, our higher self.
Awesome. So what does that mean to you? Let's expand into this topic a little bit.
Well, first of all, for me, it's the fact that everything and everyone is connected in on a fundamental level. Like we have the conscious and the subconscious. The Greek called that the heart. And that part of us is literally connected. It's interconnected fundamentally, and it's in harmony with everything. You know, our vibration and our frequency goes out and it goes in as well. So we're connected on a fundamental level. And when we get back to being that connected and remember that part of us and start exercising that, we get clear and more exact thinking. We get an ease and flow of being able to acquire our goals, live a certain lifestyle, acquire financial goals, better health, all the things.
Awesome. I love that. And of course, for me, sometimes we forget to stay connected or get connected, however you want to put it. And it's good to go back and sometimes, you know, go in depth and really examine our beliefs, our values, and to see where we really stand. Because, things change. Our life changes constantly. Things come, things go. We change jobs. And sometimes we get kind of out of touch with who we truly are. So I believe, getting connected with ourselves as much as our source is very important. Our listener here, Radka, do you have any questions or comments?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. All
You
right.
know, I have a question for us, all three of us, and that is, when do you think, like, we're born and we kind of get that sense of connection, and then as we go into teenhood and adulthood, and down the line, we actually lose that connection. Like we stop using our intuitiveness, or we stop using certain things that make our connection to our higher power further away from us than closer. Do you two remember when you kind of made that break so that you were like being more independent and more individual?
Any thoughts?
For myself, I was intuitive and I had a relationship, a spiritual relationship as a child. And I felt the peer pressure of people. So I stopped using my will as strong as I could. I stopped using my intuitiveness. I stopped using, that sense outside of a physical sense and outside of an intellectual sense. I stopped using it. I know exactly when the last crush was. I was coming around down the hallway in high school, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I get it." And I was saying something about intuitiveness and being connected, and I got slammed. And it was like, basically, we don't use those skills here. We use our fundamental skills, or we use our intellect. We don't go, and they kind of made it feel like woo. So that at that point, I just cut it off and I became what I thought was an individual without spiritual connection.
Yeah.
I think that's what most of us are in a way. As soon as we start entering the schooling and structured areas of the life, we
Yeah,
slowly start detaching ourselves from what we want, when we know want, how we want certain things, that free will, because we have to fit in to some kind of a structure of the society.
yeah, yeah. How about you, Eva?
For me, I grew up with Roman Catholic in church, and I used to go to church all the time with my parents growing up, and then school. Of course, you go to school and things like that. Um, but I always was a curious kid, and even though you're told things because your parents are there to teach you. In the back of my mind, I was always think. I was like, I think I think too much, And as life as life went on, you get to that point in life, and I remember it was after I graduated high school, actually, because up until certain point, you follow your parents, you do as you're told, kind of you continue. But then I was like, you know what? I'm 18, and it's not that like all of a sudden, whoo, I'm free, It
Yeah,
wasn't so much that, but I also got to a point in my life where I was like, you know what? I want to explore things not because of what I was told, and now that I'm not dismissing anything, but I wanted to go into further into the truth of things more. So I was always a truth seeker. So then I started exploring different, not so much religion in a sense like, oh, mine wasn't good or anything. It's just, it was like I was open to receive what else is out there, be, aside for what I've been told all my life, or
yes,
at least until that point. So then I started exploring different, topics. Religion was one of them. What kind of religion is out there? I used to study Egyptians, and different languages and stuff like that. So I got to a point like, you know what? I want to know more about life, not what the society teaches you, not, but it took time. It didn't happen overnight. I think it was
yes,
almost a decade before I was like, you know what, this is kind of my beliefs, this is what I choose to take on, and things like, yes, a lot of things happened in between. I moved from Poland to Canada. I went through hardships there. There was other things in the midst of everything, but I always wanted to seek the truth. Much more where it's like, hey, 2 plus 2 is 4. We all know that. But, I decided to go deeper into personal development. So the
yes,
journey took me to a lot of different things over the years. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that I was able to be open-minded, because I know a lot of people are still closed-minded.
mhm,
That's how they are, and that's their choice, but I wanted to know, and the more I thought I knew, like how things would get better, but the more you know there's more to know, so it's like layer after that. So life can be really interesting that way, so it never stops, like you never stop learning. But I
yes,
definitely wanted to explore things beyond what I've been told.
yes. Well, I actually got the epiphany back to my spiritual connection over a day. I grew up asking why a lot, similar to yourself, Eva. And once I mastered that in high school, people started asking me that question. Hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? So I actually started a self-improvement school, a self-development school. And I was listening and preparing myself for some programs. And I listened to it completely straight through the day. And I realized here I am, and here's God and my creator, and, my spiritual creator, the person I go to all the time. And like the circle was here, and this was all God. And I seemed to be on the outside. And I thought, how the heck did I do that? So in that day, in that moment, I moved back into the consummate relationship, the fundamental reality that I am attached to everything. I'm not separate. So at that point, I think is when I actually stopped um, competition on the outside and started having creation. And the only competition then was within myself. So, that kind of growth and that kind of connection really started to happen. And, you learn about manifestation and you learn about quantum leaps, you learn about achieving your goals and everything through the manner of oneness. And that is a law. Like that is the rule that everything is connected and everything out here is connected to us. And once we understand that part of our being isn't really ours, it's universal, it's that frequency, it's that vibration, it's that hertz, it's that place where there's a conversation without words that ends up creating our goals. Um, that is when you really get real, I think, with yourself. You really get connected, and that is when you can, start a great and healthy mindset growth way of living. No more competition on the outside, all creation, and the only competition that you have is learning yourself and getting over things.
Mhm. Wow, that's beautiful awareness. And I always felt like I was connected. It's just sometimes you forget or detach or we get too busy with life, you know.
Yes,
And even in the moment, that poem, The Footprints, I don't remember all the words, but in the midst when you think you're alone, you're never alone, but we do forget
exactly.
sometimes. And it's good to be in back in that awareness stronger than ever, because we do need it. It's healing energy, it's transformative, and it just makes for a much more fulfilling life to be
Yes.
connected. And I remember, like, I was talking today to Dr. Rani from UK, and she was talking about going back to that childhood, to that inner child within us, and really looking in deeper and understanding where the things come from, because it all starts in our childhood, right? So it was a beautiful conversation we had about that. And it made me realize, like, I'm so grateful to be here, to be talking to so many people around the world and seeing, we are still all connected. But yes, we do sometimes forget that little part.
Yeah. Well, I think we do, and when we practice living, because there's a big part of us that thinks that with being a triune being, like being a person who lives in the material world, an intellect who, can think and accept and create, and as a higher self, we go backward in our thinking. Even though we feel spiritually connected or we think we're connected, we start our journey or we start our goals or our development from the physical parts of us. And that's backward. We should start from our higher self in communication with our higher power, then take it to our intellect and our individuality so that we can move into the power of creation, right? And vibrate and attract and reach our goals. But unfortunately, I think, like Rad said, as we're growing up, we get inverted and we start thinking and feeling that our goals, our efforts, our pushing forward, our striving to be the best people we can be we think we start from the bottom part, the human part, like the part that would listen to the news and then modify our thoughts, or the part that would look at our bank account and say, "Ooh," and cause reaction, but that's actually backward when it comes to achievement and living and creation. Like, I think our higher power just insisted on order, not all this other stuff we insist on and forge ahead through before we actually cause creation, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I have a marriage with the higher power and my higher self. And because I had it when I was younger, my image of it was me walking along the street, not touching the ground, because, I mean, I felt great. And it was like an umbilical cord came right down to my head from the cosmos. And it was just like, I'm good.
Yeah. And for those who are listening to this recording, tell us in your comments what your thoughts are about this specific topic. Radka, did you have any questions or comments?
Well, the question is like, at what kind of, what's the early age we can kind of try to think about it or see it? Because that's something that, intuition is something that we all kind of born with. It's like
Yes.
at what age we can kind of practice it really or realize that that's what we're practicing,
I can tell
and
you when I started, and I wasn't four yet, and I got this sense, and I thought, "Oh, I wanna be with you." And I did that in my 3-year-old mentality, and I know it was before I turned four because I cut my hair after that. Oh, because I wanted to play outside with the boys too, right? And so on my fourth birthday, my hair was cut. So it must have been right before my fourth birthday where I started realizing and living in the discipline that you're thinking about. That was it for me. Do you have an awareness, or Eva?
There was a lot going on in my early childhood, and it amazes me when people remember they went back, oh, when I was four, did this and that. And I'm like, I can't remember until maybe I was 6, 7, certain things, because I think part of it was blocked, in my thinking and stuff. So I can't, but this is why I was talking earlier about me being in awareness and really looking out for truth out there later on in my life. That doesn't mean I wasn't connected. We're always connected.
Yeah.
It's just I made a decision to study in and be that seeker of truth, because we see the world, we see everything, but something inside of me always told me there's more to it than what you're being told. So for
Yes.
me, it's a little bit different there. Yeah.
But Rad, did you have an age that you started at that you were familiar with?
I definitely not when I was young. Definitely not when I was young. It was more like starting to become like legally an adult age that I
Yes.
started thinking, so well, that's it to life. That's all there is to it. You're gonna work for the rest of your life and like accumulating the outside things rather
Yeah.
than, oh, there is some kind of a richness on the inside of things as well, not only from what the outside and conclusions we jump and come to without actually really having the truth of it either. But that's
Mhm.
somehow we came to that conclusion. but that there is a richness and that there is a kindness, and then there is a um, other elements of life that actually make life or could make life way more enjoyable. And the
Absolutely.
definition of that awareness and that creation and that calmness that it comes with, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I got that peer pressure, it was like it like slingshotted me right out of the relationship and put me over there. And said, okay, you stay humble and, toe the line until I came back to, wait a minute, that's not right. So, it sounds like we all come around at the same age or a relative close age.
So how would these manifestations, of the the inner world have come to some kind of the outer world achievements that helped out?
I didn't quite get the context of the question. Did you hear that, Eva?
No, I didn't hear the first part. I'm sorry. It
Yeah.
broke out.
Sorry, it's being aware of the the oneness with the sources and the alignments with that. Uh, how did that manifest in the real life afterwards? Like what kind of a resultings you were seeing on the outside?
You mean like resulting in a higher functioning and a higher, a more harmonious working with your personality, and that being a result of what happens is you start to get like more clear and more exact thinking, right? And when you get that, it's relaxed in a place. I think that's different for everybody, but it's part of your higher power, and that's your spiritual part. That's working in harmony with the lower side of your personality or your being. That ends up resulting in growth, miracles, manifestations, you living and growing in the area that you live in or choose to be part of. Is that answering your question at all?
How did it help you guide you towards the choices of your jobs or careers or interests? How did that help you make decisions which way you turning or you going in life?
You want to take that, Eva?
Sure. So for me, so what happens, you know, whether you practice, so there's different way of looking at it. You will always no matter who you are, you're manifesting, whether it's this way or that way. You're constantly manifesting. The good, the bad, it all comes. But what happens is, for example, when I'm at ease with everything that's going, like, and my heart is at peace. I mean, of course, things come and go all the time. But when I have the faith and believe in the true power out there, which is the highest, and everything comes through that, then I'm not sitting in a point where like I'm worried. I'm so, anxious. I'm not in those lower vibrations when I'm constantly, what's gonna happen? How is it gonna happen? Because I've come from that point to a point where I trust now, I believe, and I know at the right time, which we call divine timing, um, I will get and everything will come to me at ease. Of course, you're gonna have to go out there do things, but it's not gonna be coming from a lack. It's gonna be coming from abundance point of view. You're gonna look at things as like, wow, I have so much, and I'm so grateful for everything. And you'll see things always in abundance. Like I go out there and it's like, wow, look at the abundance of this, look at the abundance of that. Even if I'm seeing something that might be on normal level, like, oh wow, look at this homeless person, like poor him, it's like, well, how can I help him? Is there something I can give? Because if I'm abundant, that means I have more to give. If I'm in lack, I'll be like, oh, poor guy, I can't give him anything. Like, see how it's playing out in your brain right away? The minute you shift to abundance, you're looking at things from a different point of view, different awareness, as opposed to, oh, he's in luck, I'm gonna be in luck, or like you're just spiraling down. But when you start shifting and connecting with the true source out there, that guiding us, you're gonna find things that are easier, faster to manifest. Like I used to take me time to manifest certain things because I would be in fear, I would be in doubt. One moment I'll feel great, the next moment I'm doubting myself. Well, how can you manifest when you're in that kind of, downward spiral, or you're not constant, so I learned to trust it. I learned to embrace it. I learned to trust myself. And when you coming from the point of abundance, like my mentor says, ease and flow. It comes so much easier. You're inspired. You don't even know where it's coming from, but when you get that inspiration to call somebody, hey, call that person. All of a sudden, you're looking for a job. You get that inspiration, call, job's there. Even the lady I interviewed today. Sometimes people just get inspired like that. To pick up that phone call, to go out there. Maybe you weren't supposed to go to the store today, but something keeps nagging you at you, and that's that higher power telling you, get off your butt and go do something, because obviously you want something badly. Listen to your intuition. All those things are there. That intelligence is already within you, but a lot of us, we dim it down, we forget about it. We sometimes don't want to listen because we're caught up with certain things. So I've learned to trust myself more, and things just, it may not come overnight sometimes, because when you're gradually stepping into this, sometimes it takes time. But when you make that decision, it can happen like that, and that's what I found from my experience.
But also, I think it was Bob Proctor that made the point when he was teaching this kind of thing. He said, we can be the lamp, right? And the lamp, we come in and we're the lamp and we illuminate the whole room. But when it comes down to manifestation and understanding what we want, the lamp transforms itself, like say, into a flashlight, and our intensity and our beams of understanding and all instead of seeing the light in the entire room, it focuses on what's going on in front of you instead, and it cuts off all the rest of that entire room. So you're illuminated only in your thought, only in what you want, in your ease and flow, and in your relationship, and in your radiance of frequency and creation. And that's what makes the difference between manifesting or not. So you enlighten the room or you go after the goal.
And I love that example, Nikki. That's very good for to make a visual, more than talking about it. That's a great visual right there. Um, you said Bob Proctor. I think I've heard it, but see, I forgot about that one. But I absolutely love that. We should make notes on that. Our golden
Yep.
nuggets.
Yes, our golden nuggets.
Yeah.
Did you have a poem with
I
that
do.
has to do with
It's funny
anything?
because I was looking for inspiration for today, and I'm like, oh, and then all of a sudden it just come up, and I'm like, hey, I like that poem, so I'm gonna read it. It's a very short one. So there is a candle in your heart. This is by
Oh,
Rumi. Yeah. There is a candle in your heart, ready to be kindled. There is a void in your soul, ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you? You feel the separation from the beloved. Invite him to fill you up. Embrace the fire. Remind those who tell you otherwise that love comes to you of its own accord, and the yearning for it cannot be learned in any school. The end.
nice.
Thank you.
Isn't that funny? We didn't coordinate the candle thing.
No, and I was like, wow, I think she's lining me up for this.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. So then this is exactly the thing. It lines you up when your heart's open, when you're free, when you're in that child spirit. Things just come naturally. But when we try to push it down, scared, the sensation is much different, and you feel it. Like you can just do a couple exercises, and then you feel the difference in vibration and energy. It's like Nikki said, when a person comes into the room, you can feel their energy, and you either embrace it or you want to run, get the heck out of there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, after a while, right? You generate a vibration and sensation that causes you to migrate to your own kind of people, and that intuitiveness and that understanding is back so that we can grow and heal and
Yeah.
learn.
And I think it comes down to, like, our final words here today. I think it comes down to what kind of connection do you have going forward? Do you want to have greater connection day by day, or do you want to stay where you are and wonder why things are not advancing forward?
Mhm. Yes, the important part is, and what Eva said, is that we find what through the words that she just gave us, we find what suits our character and our distinction and our manner of serving. And we apply Eva's wisdom to ourselves to create our own natural growth and not just be told what to do. Because being told what to do and just doing stuff isn't where it's at. It's taking personal action. It's taking your real action that works best for you. So you have to take Eva's wisdom there and you have to apply it. You have to think about who you are and how it fits within your dynamic self, so that you can foster your genius that we all have.
And we all have that. We forget, we've forgotten about it sometimes, and or we're just rediscovering who we are all over again. And we're all unique in our own ways. You have gifts, I have gifts, and
Mhm.
everybody else is. We all have gifts to give.
Yes.
And I was reading a new book yesterday, actually, and I'm actually into quantum physics at the moment too, trying to understand the body and the mind on a different level now. So it's like that's why I say it never ends with the learning and everything, unless you choose to, and then the consequences of that. I call it the stay alive, and I can't do that. Once you go one way, you can't go back. That's what I say. But it's just, expand your horizon, expand your life, makes it more fulfilling. And I
Yes.
was reading that we're not here like mostly for ourselves. We're here for make other people's life better. And that's what should be our goal. And when we better ourselves, we better others and everybody around us too, right? So it's like a ripple effect. I help you, you help me, somebody helps me, and it spreads like wildfire if you continue to do that, you know.
How do you nurture this?
Nikki, how do you nurture that?
Nurture, what is this? Our spiritual relationship,
Hmm.
or I think everybody has their own method. I think that a lot of us fall into a routine where we start in the morning. I take personally, I know I'm not advising anybody. I started with 15 minutes, but now I do 2 hours in the morning. And fundamentally, the biggest part of it is I pray my day out and I get quiet. So I meditate and I visualize the answers back in. And that's how I start every day. And that's how I stay in the respect of the position to be in a spiritual relationship, so to speak. And that's how I start by nurturing it. I start by conscientiously waking up in a good mood, and then I go into a quiet meditation, and I have my relationship first before I do anything else, and that kind of sets the tone for the day. And that instead of doing 10 steps, you'll find that you'll go step 1, 3, 6, 8, and then you're done. Because the universe, because the energy, because you're projected, because you're centered, because you don't have the friction of all that negative news and so on and so forth, you don't have so much work to do during the day. So for me, that's how I nurture it.
Wow, that's awesome. Great insights, Nikki. For me, it's because I never really practiced anything truly until personal development just a few years ago. more like a couple years ago. But in order to condition my mind, I had to start being, every day I had to do something, whether it was 15 minutes meditation or journaling. And then you find what works for you, because not everybody likes to write. Not everybody likes to meditate. When I used to do meditation, I used to fall asleep like that, so I had to find a different source for myself. But it's very important. And I also, sorry.
A lot of people fall asleep.
What happened is, I used to journal, and like when I took Bob Proctor, I journaled, I meditated, and reading. But then once I conditioned mine to a certain point, I knew some things I didn't have to do any longer because it came naturally. Just like driving, at first you have to learn it, or biking. At first you have to, practice, then it becomes natural. So once you do something long enough, it becomes a new habit. You don't have to do it so much anymore because it's already on autopilot. So that's how you start. Do small, pick one or two things. Don't do a whole list, because you get burned out before you even start, because you're just thinking about that, right? For somebody who's just starting out, for example, once you get
Yes,
to
I
a certain
started
level.
with 15 minutes.
Yeah. So once you get to a certain level, you start knowing yourself and works for you, what doesn't work for you, right? I used to set a watch reminder to check in every hour. So it's like, okay, what am I doing? How is my mind getting conditioned? Did I overreact? Did I respond? Like, it was just something I used for my own self. So that's how you kind of remind yourself, if you want to shift, to do it every day. Every day you have to do it, to be honest with you, until it becomes a natural thing. Yep.
Yes. That's awesome, Eva.
Well, thank you. Well, we're here to, explore this great mindset of ours, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, if any questions, we'll wrap this up, this session, and then we'll have next one coming up very soon. Nikki, do we know the topic for our next discussion? For those who would like to join us, we'll post when we're coming on.
We discussed it yesterday, and it was about a title that I had to ask you about, and it's nope, I don't have it here. I was
Okay.
stalling trying to read over my notes.
So our next session will be, where are you? So that's kind
Oh,
of
was that
open.
it?
Yes. Are you open-minded? Are you closed-minded? And
Yes.
how we can go from closed-minded to being more open-minded and things like that. So I hope you guys join us for our next session as we talk about, the Growth Mindset Collective on topic, where are you in open or closed mindset. So I thank everybody for joining us today, and I hope everybody has a beautiful day, and we'll see you guys soon again.
Wonderful.
Bye, everyone.